Ultra Instinct Goku might be the most unique character that Arc System Works has created for Dragon Ball FighterZ. He has ways of bypassing the most fundamental aspects of neutral to completely interrupt your pressure, and more importantly, he comes packed with tons and tons of sparking loop options. We've already broken down his auto combo sparking loops and his mid-screen 6S loops. I'll link those in the description and attach them to the video above. But of all the routes he has in his toolkit, only one warrants a Rhythmic Theory breakdown. We've done 10 episodes of combos explained on the channel, base Vegeta loops, Majin Buu loops, Goku Blue shoulder loops, and if you're new here, it's important to explain why. Combos, in essence, are just facets of rhythm. Rhythms expressed through inputs and realized through massive damage outputs. Yet there are some more challenging than the rest. These advanced combos excite me and present us with a unique opportunity to explore the game in a deeper way than a traditional guide could offer. First, if you can't read rhythm, that's completely fine. I don't expect you to, because if you're already interested in fighting games, that's really all you need. I'll break it down as we go into manageable sections, all culminating in a karaoke-like play-along where you can see the inputs and necessary timing. Second, there is a reason to learn this loop. While it is among Ultra Instinct Goku's more challenging routes, and keep in mind it's only week 2, I'm sure we'll discover more along the way, it reigns as potentially his most optimal. This offers the player a way to realize a touch of death scenario. Of course, this will take place in a limit break ultimate mechanic, assuming Goku is the last surviving member of your team. And because he makes such an excellent anchor, it means this situation is highly likely to occur in match. Additionally, this is a 0 bar touch of death, meaning you will generate the necessary bar to destroy your opponent during this combo, making the obligatory 1 bar of meter from limit break kind of unnecessary and superfluous. This is a great thing. Routes like these don't come along often, so I'd like to give credit where credit is due. The user @Muto256 on Twitter discovered this loop and pioneered this route. Make no mistake, it is exceptionally difficult. However, it is possible on all members of the roster, and to make that point clear, I'll break down the loop itself on GT Goku, the smallest and hardest character to juggle. Let's start by breaking down the inputs. This route can be started however you'd like, but since this loop contains multiple heavy attacks, and using your smash property elevates the height of your opponent, it would be best if you began with a normal standing heavy. The true loop begins with the 6S itself, the Shining Soul attack. Now, UI has another loop that takes advantage of his 6S, but in that route, you don't want the animation to play out. Rather, you would jump cancel out of the final strike as to continue the loop mid-screen. However, in this loop, you want the full ki blast to connect with your opponent for height, correction, and damage. For the longest time, I couldn't connect the heavy attack after the instant air dash medium. I find this useful to state because it truly felt like I had to delay my instant air dash to the maximum in order to make this loop happen. Well, I'm happy to say that my initial thoughts were correct. You can see this visualized in the chart above. Look at how much space separates the 6S from the instant air dash. It's almost half a measure. So let's break it down. An instant air dash is the process of hitting 2 consecutive but separate inputs. The first input is a jump forward, or up plus forward direction on your D-pad, while the second is achieved by double tapping the forward button itself. You'll see that this makes your character dash in an instant, hence the term. However, I use a shortcut option. I've put the 2 forward inputs on the top of the musical notation to represent a possible path, but a much easier path, in my own opinion, is pressing both the forward button and super dash button at once. If done correctly, you won't get a super dash, instead, you'll achieve the instant air dash. That way, the IAD goes from 4 separate motions on your controller to 3, minimizing the room for error. However, you can do whichever route you find most comfortable. Now back to the medium input. This occurs on the E of 3, and in non-musical terms this means it's going to feel weird, abstract, obtuse even. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 represent what we call the downbeat, or the strongest beats of a musical phrase. Because the timing is so delayed on the air medium, it's actually pushed it past the downbeat, onto an upbeat. Okay, think about it this way. Think of hearing the generic dance beat, the boots and cats and boots and cats and... The syllables of boots and cats is what the upbeat feels like, so you'll need to have wicked fast timing and solid rhythm to make that medium connect. This is all for a purpose too, as the medium is what determines if your heavy attack will connect or not. UI Goku's heavy attack, unlike say Kefla's, doesn't reach up as high on impact, so the maximum delay of your medium is only to bring your opponent back down to a height that connects with your standing H. Although the window of time seems large, you'll realize the heavy attack comes immediately after the medium. We'll be playing this combo at around 100 to 102 beats per minute, which is practically a blistering speed. And finally, it wouldn't be a loop without the same pattern being repeated, so let me give a word of warning. If you're having trouble making the second loop connect, remember to let your standing heavy attack decay properly into your 6S. You don't have to mash 6S immediately after your shoulder check, rather you could just let it sit for a few frames, as heavies usually generally have more hit stun than most normals. So use this to your advantage to allow your opponent to fall back down to your next 6S. If done properly, you'll achieve the appropriate height for your second link. Also, just take a moment to admire that this loop is perfectly parallel, as in the top measure is the mirror image of the bottom measure. Brilliantly designed, this means your timing will need to be impeccable to pull this off properly. However, once you get the rhythm, it'll be all the easier to replicate. Speaking of rhythms, now that we have the inputs out of the way, let's take a moment to break down the rhythmic theory itself. What you're seeing is 2 measures of 16th notes. Think of each line as its own musical phrase, or sentence. How many notes do you see in each line? Well, if you did the quick math, you'd realize that we have 4 numbers and 4 partials per number, so 4 times 4 is 16. Am I making this particular example harder than it needs to be? Perhaps, but realizing this early on is the key to success down the road. Since we have 16 notes per measure, we can easily count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all the way to 16. But once you hit a double syllable number like 11, it becomes a tad ridiculous. So in order to account for human capabilities, we separate each number into 4 subdivisions. As so, the number 1 has 3 attachments, 1, E, and making 4 total. Now, saying 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda is much easier. I'm explaining all of this for one simple reason. If you count it out loud, you can play it 10 times faster than your fellow gamers. This is scientifically proven, and I built a successful career as a drum instructor living by this principle. With back-to-back Teacher of the Year awards, I'm sure my students would agree as well. However, that does not mean it's easy. It'll be up to you to put in the work that it takes to align your muscles with your voice. Once you do, you'll be unstoppable with superior coordination. So now let's move into practicing this loop. It's my opinion that hearing the actual rhythm this pattern creates will benefit you in your journey. So unlike previous episodes, I've included a section here that will allow you to train your ear. You'll hear the metronome, and you'll see the karaoke style play along, and you'll visually confirm the combo through my controller inputs and UI's movements. But on top of all of it, you'll also feel the rhythm through my own accents. I'm going to let this play for a full minute, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free. Just keep in mind before you ask for help, this section will benefit everyone, except those who skip it. If you're having trouble, it's the first thing I'll recommend returning to. Now that you've had a moment to see this in practice, I'm going to put you through one final training exercise. Unfortunately, Dragon Ball FighterZ does not have a slow down function, so I've taken the time to manually place this combo at 25% tempo 50% tempo, and 100% tempo, so you can play along as you build up your muscle memory. Each session will end on a level 3 super, as the actual TOD ending will require an explanation of its own. Best of luck. See you on the other side. Now that you've practiced this loop, let's break down Muto's 256's route. Of course, his starts with a standing heavy, into Goku's 22S DP, into Spark, and from there everything is similar to our route. However, where it differs is the ending. After your second heavy of the loop, cancel it into another 6S. This is where your timing must be perfect. You'll need to super jump install, which is really simple. You just achieve it by pressing down and up in quick succession, and immediately catch your opponent with an air medium. If you attempt to continue with a light attack, the hit stun decay will take over and your opponent will tech out. Follow up your air medium with a down heavy, and this is where it becomes challenging once again. You're attempting to get your opponent to a proper height so UI can finish with his quarter circle back L. So after the heavy, you have to delay your light attacks just slightly to get that additional height, but not too much, or once again your opponent will tech out. This slight delay will take time to master, which is difficult because the first half of the loop is also hard to accomplish. However, you can always practice the proper spacing by confirming your heavy attack while unsparking into a success, and attempting this route without the loops that causes a higher hit stun decay. Once you've practiced this on its own, you can return to the route. And continuing on from the heavy, after you've finished your auto combo, your opponent should be sent back towards the ground at just the right height for your quarter circle back L to connect. Once this connects, immediately vanish and chase down your opponent. Quickly input 6S once again, but cancel it early into 22S, immediately followed by both your level 1 supers. At this point, you've achieved it, a 0-bar solo sparking Ultra Instinct Goku TOD. I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown. As you can probably tell, it takes an incredible amount of effort to create, imagine, and realize. I would appreciate it immensely if you considered liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel. Either of those options will boost this guide in the algorithm and potentially help other players along the way. My initial opinions of UI Goku are that he's incredibly strong and very well equipped to master the game. Whether he's broken or busted, we'll have to see. For now, he has the tools to dominate if you have the patience to equip yourself with them. So, that's it my dudes. I've been the Dr. Blue, and you're incredible. I'll see you in the next video.